welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we are going to talk about Dark Matter, the new sci-fi series on Apple TV. Now, this one stars Jennifer Connelly, Alice Braga, Jimmy Simpson, Joel Edgerton. This one threw me for a loop, you guys. So let's just jump into it. So right out of the gate, I want to make it perfectly clear, I did not read the novel that this series is based off of, and it is a novel of the same name. I do know that the author of Dark Matter did work on the TV series, so he actually did all the writing to adapt his book to screen. I have never clicked so fast to add a book onto my Libby TBR, maybe ever. I don't know if it's going to be one of those situations where I ruin one or the other of them for myself, whether I will not like the book as much because I've seen the television series, or if somehow reading the book is going to ruin the television series for me, but hopefully not. So jumping into this, I will say because I've never read the book, I don't entirely know what is happening here. I'm just going off of my layman's idea of what's actually going on in the show. But I will say Dark Matter is one of those television series, and hopefully you guys will understand what I mean by this, that makes your brain kind of itchy, or at least makes my brain itchy. And I don't mean that in like a bad way. It's sort of like maybe if anyone has watched that show that I mention constantly, Mayor of Easttown, that one was more of a detective thing, so it's not sci-fi in any way, shape, or form. But it was the type of series where when I sat down and I watched it, immediately my brain just started like buzzing and really trying to figure out what was going on. And I was just sort of instantly hooked into that television series and kept sort of like being really annoyed with the fact that I couldn't guess what was going to happen or who the murderer was in that show. Dark Matter reminds me of that. Like, I love Jennifer Connelly just right out of the gate. Let's just say I will look for things that she has done more often. For me, the one that she was in previously, the train one, Snowpiercer, that she was in, I didn't really enjoy the film. And so I never watched the television series. And now I have never been more happy that a television series has been canceled so that she could go from Snowpiercer to Dark Matter. This show, I'm hooked. I'm hooked into it 100%. So if any of you out there have read the books, please don't leave me spoilers. But as far as I can kind of gather, the character that Joel Edgerton is playing in this television series is named Jason Dessen, and he is kind of like a scientist, right? He knows all about like Schrodinger's cat and how an atom can sort of split and become, more like live in more than one space at a time, if that makes sense. I am not a scientist. I don't know half of what's going on when it comes to that sort of stuff. But essentially what his character has done, so what Jason Dessen has done, is he has invented not a way to go back in time, which is kind of where I thought we were starting from, but has invented this box, which is essentially, I want to say it's something like Schrodinger's box, right? Where he has given himself the ability to change sort of dimensions. So think multiverse of madness, but not lame, if that puts you right in the correct headspace. So essentially what he's done is he's given himself the ability to swap timelines, essentially. So for instance, him and Jennifer Connelly's character, in one timeline, they got married and raised a child together. And in another timeline, he moved on from her and decided not to like continue the relationship with her. And so it set him on a completely different trajectory. And so essentially what's happening in the show is it's basically like every decision you make sort of splits off another version of yourself that you are completely unaware of because it exists in a different timeline, in a different dimension. And this is blowing my mind. Like, I am so interested to see what's happening, because essentially what he's done in the show, and I don't think this is a spoiler because you see it right out of the gate, but essentially what's happened in the show is he has swapped places with himself. So the one who chose not to be with Jennifer Connelly has swapped timelines, has pushed his other self into his timeline, and has like traded places with him. So I don't know how to explain this, but like the Jennifer Connelly Jason Dessen has been put into the realm of where they never got married. And so he has all of these memories of raising their kid and having a life together and having a marriage and the different decisions and choices they made to build a life together. But he's in a dimension where none of that happens. It is the most interesting thing to me. And it immediately like sets my brain on fire. I really want to know what happens. There are only 2 episodes out right now, and this is definitely one of those shows, though I understand why they don't do it. This is definitely one of those shows where I wish the entire season was out, because I kid you not, I'd stay up until 1, 2, 3 in the morning to watch every single episode of this television series. Highly recommend. If you cannot tell by my excitement in this episode, highly recommend. Definitely check out Dark Matter. I really would love to know what you guys think of this one if you do check it out, but those are really my thoughts on it. I am loving it so far. I would definitely tune into Apple TV and watch Dark Matter. And if you do let me know. Subscribe to join the Movie Nerd family, and I hope to see you guys in the next episode.